The morning sky above Seoul turned black with alien ships. Ji-ho Kim was drinking his morning coffee at the Arctic Research Station when the emergency broadcast began. His hands shook as he watched the news on his tablet. Giant metal shapes hung over every major city on Earth like dark clouds that would never rain. "This is not a drill," the reporter said, her voice cracking. "Unknown vessels have appeared over population centers worldwide. Military forces are responding." Ji-ho set down his coffee and walked to the window. The Arctic was still white and peaceful. No alien ships here, just ice and wind and the research equipment he had been maintaining for the past 6 months. He was alone at the station while his team was back in Seoul for the holidays. The tablet screen flickered. The reporter was gone. In her place was something that made Ji-ho's blood freeze. A creature with gray skin and large black eyes spoke in perfect Korean. "People of Earth," it said, "I am Admiral Kethvar of the Vaelthran Empire. Your planet now belongs to us. Surrender immediately and you will be treated well. Resist and you will be destroyed." The broadcast cut to static. Ji-ho grabbed his radio and tried to contact Seoul. Nothing but white noise. He tried the emergency channels. Dead silence. The satellite internet was down, too. The research station was cut off from the world. 2,000 kilometers south, Captain Dae-sung Lee stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force ship Incheon's Pride. Through the windows, he could see the alien fleet hanging over Seoul like a steel ceiling. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. "Sir," said Communications Officer Mira Park, turning from her console, "we're getting reports from all over the globe. London is under attack. New York is burning. Tokyo." She stopped, her face pale. "What about Tokyo?" Dae-sung asked. "Tokyo is gone, sir." The words hit the bridge crew like a physical blow. 3 million people. Gone in minutes. "Weapons status?" Dae-sung asked, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. "All systems ready, Captain," replied his weapons officer. "But, sir, our missiles won't even scratch those ships. Their shields are unlike anything we've ever seen." Dae-sung nodded. He knew the truth. Earth's military was like children with sticks facing tigers, but they would fight anyway. That's what humans did. "All ships," he said into his communication device. "This is Captain Lee. We know we can't win this fight, but we're going to make them remember us. For Seoul, for Earth, for humanity." The small Earth fleet accelerated toward the alien armada. In the occupied zones, the aliens moved through the streets like they owned them, because they did. Their soldiers were tall and thin, with gray skin and technology that made Earth's weapons look like toys. They carried energy rifles that could cut through tank armor. They wore suits that stopped bullets like raindrops. Dr. So-young Choi huddled in the basement of Seoul National University with 30 other survivors. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life, but she had never imagined meeting aliens like this. "They're not here to talk," whispered Professor Hyunwoo Nam from the history department. He had organized their little group of survivors. "They're here to take our world." So-young watched through a crack in the basement wall as alien soldiers marched past. They moved with mechanical precision. No wasted motion, no emotion on their gray faces. They were efficient killers. "We need to understand them," she whispered back. "If we're going to survive, we need to learn how they think." Above them, the sky lit up with explosions. The Earth Defense Force was attacking the alien ships. So-young could hear the screams of fighter jets and the thunder of missiles. But after each explosion, the alien ships remained untouched. Their shields glowed briefly, then returned to normal. One by one, The human ships died. Captain Daesung Lee felt his ship shake as alien energy beams tore through the hull. Half his crew was dead. The other half was working frantically to keep the ship flying. They had managed to damage one alien vessel, but it had cost them everything. "Captain!" Mira Park called out, blood running down her face from a head wound. "I'm detecting something strange about their shields. They pulse in a pattern, like they're cycling power." Daesung looked at the tactical display. She was right. Every few seconds, the shields flickered. Just for a moment. But maybe that was enough. "All remaining power to engines," he ordered. "We're going to ram that ship." "Sir?" his engineering officer asked. "You heard me. Full speed ahead. If we're going to die, we're taking one of them with us." The Inchin's pride accelerated toward the nearest alien vessel. Energy beams tore chunks from its hull, but Daesung held course. His ship was dying around him, but it was still flying. At the last second, the alien shields flickered. The Incheon's pride slammed into the alien ship's hull like a bullet through paper. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the sky. But in the moment before impact, something amazing happened. A piece of alien technology broke free from the enemy ship. A small device that fell to Earth like a metal meteor. Young Yoon Ji-yoon was only 16, but she was hiding in the ruins with the adults. She had always been good with computers. Better than good. She was what people called a genius. When she saw the alien device fall into the rubble near her hiding spot, she knew it was important. She crawled through the broken concrete and grabbed the device. It was warm and hummed with energy. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing softly in the dark. "What is that?" asked Min-soo Jung, an engineer who had been trapped in the same building when the attacks began. "I don't know," Yoonji said, turning, the device over in her hands. "But it came from their ship. Maybe we can learn something from it." Min-soo looked at the device with hungry eyes. He had spent his whole career building things, making them work. If this was alien technology, maybe he could figure out how it worked. Maybe he could build something to fight back. "We need to hide. This," he said. "The aliens can't know we have it." Far to the north, Ji-ho Kim watched the orange glow on the southern horizon. Seoul was burning. He had tried the radio again, but there was still nothing. No voices, no news. Just the crackling of static and the wind outside his window. He looked at his supplies. Food for 2 weeks, water for longer if he was careful. The research station had its own power generator. He could survive here for a while. But then what? Ji-ho had been a soldier once, back when he was young. Special forces. He knew how to fight, how to survive, but he also knew when he was outmatched. The aliens had destroyed the world's military in a single day. What could one man do against that? He walked to his equipment locker and pulled out his old combat gear. Black clothing, body armor, weapons that Earth's military had given him years ago when he was someone who mattered. He looked at himself in the mirror. Just a man, not young anymore, not special, but he was still alive when millions were dead. That had to count for something. The radio crackled with a brief signal, a voice speaking in a language he didn't recognize, then silence again. The aliens were talking to each other, planning, organizing, taking control of his world. Ji-ho loaded his rifle and checked his ammunition. He didn't know what he could do against an army of aliens with technology beyond human understanding. But he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going to hide in the Arctic forever. Outside, the wind howled, like the world was crying. 3 days after the invasion, Dr. Velnara studied the data from her laboratory aboard the Vilthron command ship. The conquest of Earth was proceeding according to plan. Major population centers were secured. Human military resistance had been crushed. The primitive species should have surrendered by now, but something was wrong with the human brain scans. Velnara was the Velthron Empire's chief xenobiologist. She had studied hundreds of species across the galaxy. Every intelligent race followed the same basic patterns. Logic circuits in the brain fired in predictable sequences. Thoughts flowed from one idea to the next in orderly chains. It was universal law. Humans were different. "Computer," she said, staring at the holographic display of a human brain. "Run the analysis again." The computer's voice was calm and emotionless. Analysis complete. Human neural patterns show impossible characteristics. Subjects can hold contradictory information simultaneously without cognitive breakdown. Logic circuits activate in chaotic patterns that should cause insanity. Velnara's gray skin darkened with worry. In 10,000 years of Velthran history, they had never seen anything like this. Humans thought in ways that shouldn't work. Their minds were like storms instead of rivers. "Show me the combat analysis," she commanded. New data filled the air around her. Reports from ground troops, video footage of human resistance fighters. The information made her hands tremble. In Seoul, a human child had taken apart a Velthron scanner and somehow turned it into a weapon. The device shouldn't work according to their science, but it did. It had killed 3 soldiers before they destroyed it. In London, human survivors were using Vilthran communication equipment to coordinate attacks. They had no training with the technology, no understanding of how it functioned, yet they made it work anyway. Most disturbing of all were the reports from the Arctic Research Station. 12 Vilthron scouts had been sent to investigate the isolated facility. It was supposed to be a simple mission. Secure the area, capture any humans for study, move on to the next target. None of the scouts had returned. Surveillance data showed what had happened, but Velnara could hardly believe it. A single human male had eliminated the entire squad using primitive weapons and environmental hazards. He had turned their own technology against them in ways their designers never imagined. The human's name was Jiho Kim. Jiho stood in the snow, outside the research station, looking at the wreckage of alien equipment scattered around him. 3 days ago, he had been a simple maintenance worker. Now he was something else entirely. The alien scouts had arrived that morning, moving through the snow in perfect formation. Their energy weapons could melt steel. Their armor could stop bullets. They should have been unstoppable. But Jiho had been watching them for hours before they reached the station. He studied how they moved, how they reacted, how they thought. They were logical, predictable. They followed patterns. Humans didn't follow patterns. When the aliens entered the station, Jiho was already gone. He had rigged the heating system to explode when they opened the main door. The blast didn't kill them, but it damaged their equipment and scattered them. Then he had hunted them one by one. He used the snow to hide his heat signature. He used the wind to mask his movement. He turned their own scanner devices into bombs by crossing wires in ways that shouldn't work but did. When their communication gear tried to call for help, it found only static because Jiho had wrapped the antenna in metal sheeting. The last alien had died when Jiho dropped a piece of heavy equipment on its head from the ceiling. Simple, brutal, effective. Now he stood among their remains, wearing pieces of their armor over his own clothing. The alien technology hummed against his skin. He didn't understand how it worked, but he didn't need to. He could feel its potential like electricity in the air. Jiho picked up one of their energy weapons. It was too big for human hands, but he could make it work. He always made things work. In Seoul, the resistance was growing stronger every day. Hyunwoo Nam moved through the subway tunnels with 30 followers, carrying supplies and stolen alien equipment. They had learned to avoid the main streets where the patrols walked. They had learned to move like ghosts through their own city. "Any word from the other cells?" asked Tai-Hyun Kwan, a former Olympic marksman who now used his skills to eliminate alien sentries. 5 new groups formed yesterday, Hyunwoo replied. "The aliens think they control the city, but we're everywhere. In the sewers, in the buildings, in the shadows." Young Yoonji Yoon sat in a corner with the alien device she had recovered from the crashed ship. For 3 days, she had been taking it apart and putting it back together. Each time, she understood a little more. "It's not just a scanner," she said, her young face bright with excitement. "It's like a computer, but it thinks differently than ours do. It processes information in multiple streams at once." Min Soo-jung knelt beside her, studying her work. "Can you make it do what we want?" "I think so," Yoonji said, "but not by following their programming. We have to make it think like us instead of like them." She had been modifying the device with spare parts from broken electronics, circuit boards, from old phones, wires from radios, batteries from flashlights. None of it should work together, but somehow it did. The alien technology adapted to her changes like it was alive. "Show me," Minsu said. Yoonji activated the device. The screen flickered, with alien symbols, then shifted to display a map of the surrounding area. Red dots marked alien positions. Blue dots showed human survivors. "How is it doing that?" Minsu asked in amazement. "I don't know," Yoonji admitted. "I just told it what we needed, and it figured out how to do it. The device shouldn't work. The modifications violated every principle of Valthran engineering. But humans didn't care about principles. They cared about results." Across the city, Dr. So-young Choi was making her own discoveries. She had been studying captured alien equipment in a hidden laboratory beneath the university. What she found frightened and amazed her. "Their technology is perfect," she told her assistant, Yuna Lim, a medical doctor who had been treating wounded resistance fighters. "Every circuit, every component is exactly where it should be for maximum efficiency." "That sounds like a good thing," Yuna said. "No," So-young replied, shaking her head. "It means they can't adapt. Their minds work like their machines. Everything has its place and purpose. When we change something, they can't understand how it still works." She pointed to a Valthran communication device that had been modified with human electronics. "This should be broken. According to their science, what we've done is impossible, but it works better than before." "Why?" "Because we don't think like they do. We see possibilities where they see only problems." Aboard the command ship, Admiral Kethvar read Dr. Velnara's report with growing concern. The conquest of Earth was supposed to be complete by now. Instead, human resistance was growing stronger each day. "Explain this to me," he said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered a dozen worlds. "How can a primitive species adapt so quickly to our technology?" "They're not adapting to it," Velnara replied. "They're changing it, making it work in ways we never intended. Their brains process information through what I can only call chaos thinking." "Chaos thinking?" "They can believe something is impossible, while actively proving it wrong. They hold contradictory ideas without mental breakdown. They find solutions where logic says none exist." HFY studied the tactical displays showing human resistance activities. Small groups using modified Valthran equipment to attack patrol units, communication networks that shouldn't function but did, weapons that violated the laws of physics but killed his soldiers anyway. "How many casualties?" he asked. 12% of ground forces in the first week, Velnara said quietly. "If this continues, we'll need reinforcements." "Reinforcements?" Kethavar's voice rose in anger. "For a primitive species with chemical rockets and metal bullets? Sir, they're not using chemical rockets anymore. They're using our technology, but wrong. And somehow, wrong works for them." In the Arctic, Jiho Kim had finished his preparations. He wore alien armor modified with human tools. He carried weapons that combined Valthran energy technology with Earth materials. Nothing he had built should work according to either human or alien science. But it all worked perfectly. He had been monitoring alien communications using their own equipment. He understood enough of their language now to know they were afraid. The great Valthran Empire was afraid of humans. They should be. Jiho looked at the map display he had created by combining alien scanners with human GPS technology. More alien. Outposts were scattered across the northern territories. Research stations where they studied human prisoners. Command posts that coordinated attacks on resistance cells. Facilities that needed to be destroyed. He started his modified snowmobile. Its engine now powered by alien energy cells, the machine moved across the snow faster and quieter than before. Jiho had made it better by ignoring the rules about how engines were supposed to work. As he drove south toward his first target, Jiho smiled for the first time since the invasion began. The aliens thought they understood warfare. They thought they understood humans. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Behind him, the research station burned with alien fire that would never go out. Ahead of him lay a world at war. Dr. Velnara had not slept in 48 hours. The data streaming across her laboratory screens defied everything she knew about intelligent life. She had requested priority access to the Empire's greatest computers, machines that could simulate entire star systems. All of them reached the same impossible conclusion. Humans were breaking reality. "Computer, show me the neural analysis of Subject 247, she commanded. A three-dimensional image of a human brain appeared before her. This particular human was a 16-year-old female named Yoonji Yoon, captured from a resistance cell in Seoul. Her brain patterns made Velnara's skin crawl. Subject demonstrates unprecedented neural activity, the computer reported. Logic centers activate simultaneously with creative centers. Impossibility processing occurs without cognitive rejection. Subject can conceptualize contradictory realities as equally valid. Velnara stared at the display. "Show me what she did to our scanner." The hologram shifted to show a Valthran scanning device. But it was wrong. Completely wrong. Human electronics had been grafted onto alien circuits using methods that violated fundamental laws. Wires connected to nothing, circuits that formed impossible loops, power flowing in directions that should have caused explosions. Instead, the device worked better than the original. "How?" Velnara whispered. "Unknown," the computer replied. "Human. Modifications appear to operate outside established physical parameters." Across the ship, Admiral Kethvar was receiving reports that made his blood cold. 3 more research outposts had gone silent in the northern territories. Each time, the same pattern. A lone human male eliminated entire squads of trained soldiers. Using equipment that shouldn't exist, Sir, his tactical officer reported, we have visual confirmation on the human responsible. The main screen showed surveillance footage from the latest attack. A human male moved through falling snow like a ghost. He wore Valthran armor modified with crude human additions. His weapons combined energy technology with primitive materials. Nothing about his equipment made sense. But it worked. The human appeared to be talking to himself as he approached the alien outpost. Kethvar activated the audio. "Okay, Jiho," the human said to himself. "Shield generator should be in the north tower. Take that out first, then the communication array, then the barracks. Simple plan. Probably won't work, but that's never stopped you before." Kethvar watched in fascination as the human did exactly what he said he would do, despite calling his own plan impossible. The shield generator exploded in a ball of fire. The communication array collapsed in a shower of sparks. The barracks burned with alien soldiers still inside. "Analysis of the human's tactical approach?" Kethvar asked. "Impossible to predict, sir. He uses no recognizable strategy. His actions appear random, yet achieve perfect results." On the screen, Jiho Kim disappeared into the snow, carrying stolen alien equipment. Behind him, the outpost burned with flames that would not die. In Seoul, the resistance had evolved beyond anything the Velthron forces could understand. Hyunwoo Nam stood in a hidden chamber beneath the subway, looking at weapons and equipment that his people had created from stolen alien technology. "Show me the new rifles," he said to Minsu Jung. Minsu held up a weapon that hurt to look at. It combined Vilethron energy technology with human manufacturing in ways that violated both species' understanding of physics. The barrel was made from melted alien armor. The power source was a car battery connected to alien circuits with copper wire. The trigger mechanism came from a kitchen appliance. "Does it work?" Hyunwoo asked. "Better than their original weapons," Minsu replied. "I don't understand how, but it does." Tae-hyun Kwan hefted one of the modified rifles. As a former Olympic marksman, he appreciated good weapons. This wasn't a good weapon. It was an impossible weapon that somehow shot straighter and hit harder than anything designed by professional engineers. "How many can we make?" he asked. "As many as we need," Yoon Ji-yoon said from her corner workshop. The young girl had become the Resistance's chief technology expert, despite having no formal training in alien science. "I figured out how to mass-produce the modifications." She gestured to a row of devices that looked like they had been built by a madman. Alien scanners modified with smartphone parts, communication equipment powered by motorcycle batteries, shield generators built from washing machine motors and alien crystal matrices. "This violates everything I learned in engineering school," Minsu said, staring at her work. "Good," Yoonji replied with a smile. "Their education system teaches them to think inside boxes. We don't have boxes." In the hidden medical facility, Dr. Yuna Lim was making discoveries that terrified her. She had been studying captured alien biology, looking for weaknesses that human forces could exploit. What she found was worse than she expected. "So Young," she called to her colleague, "you need to see this." Dr. So-young Choi joined her at the examination table where a deceased Vilethron soldier lay. Their gray skin looked almost peaceful in death, but their internal structure told a different story. "Look at their nervous system," Yuna said, pointing to exposed neural pathways. "Everything is connected in perfect networks. No redundancy, no chaos, no room for error. Efficient," So-young observed. "Too efficient," Yuna corrected. "Their brains are like computers. Fast, logical, predictable. But computers can be hacked." She held up a small device she had been working on. It looked like a child's toy made from spare parts and alien technology. Lights blinked in random patterns across its surface. "What does it do?" So-young asked. "It broadcasts human thought patterns," Yuna explained. "The randomness, the chaos, the impossibility, when their perfectly organized minds try to process it." She activated the device near the alien corpse. The neural pathways lit up briefly, then sparked and went dark. "It overloads them," So-young whispered. "Their strength is also their weakness," Yuna said. "They can't handle chaos. It breaks their minds." Meanwhile, aboard the Vaelthron command ship, Dr. Velnara was having a mental breakdown of her own. The latest test results from human prisoners made no scientific sense. She had studied thousands of species across the galaxy. Everyone followed the same basic patterns of logic and reason. Humans followed no patterns at all. "Computer, explain how Subject 247 modified our scanner to detect thoughts." "Impossible to explain. Modifications violate conservation of energy, quantum mechanics, and basic logic." "But it works?" "Yes. The device now functions as designed, plus additional capabilities that should not exist." Velnara looked at the video of young Yunji Yoon working in her cell. The human girl had been given a broken scanner to keep her occupied. Instead of trying to fix it properly, she had turned it into something entirely new. Something that could read minds. "Show me the latest report from the Arctic outposts." New horror filled her screens. The lone human male had attacked 6 facilities in 3 days. Each attack was different, using tactics that made no sense. He fought like madness given form, yet achieved perfect victories every time. Pattern analysis of subject Jiho Kim? No. Patterns detected. Subject appears to generate new tactical approaches in real time, impossible to predict or counter. Velnara felt her worldview cracking like ice in sunlight. For 10,000 years, the Vaelthron Empire had conquered worlds by understanding their opponents. Logic was universal. Strategy was mathematical. War was science. Humans treated war like art. In the Arctic wasteland, Jiho Kim sat in the ruins of another alien outpost, eating stolen food and planning his next move. Around him lay the wreckage of Vaelthron technology that he had converted into weapons and tools using methods that would give alien engineers nightmares. He spoke to himself as he worked, a habit that surveillance microphones faithfully recorded. For confused analysts, "Okay, so the shield harmonics cycle every 37 seconds, he muttered, taking apart an alien power generator with human tools. "If I reverse the polarity and cross-connect the plasma feeds, I should be able to turn this into a really big bomb. The device shouldn't become a bomb. Reversing polarity should shut it down. Cross-connecting plasma feeds should cause a harmless overload." But Jiho had learned that alien technology worked differently when humans touched it. It became more flexible, more willing to break its own rules. "Of course, this will probably kill me," he continued cheerfully. "But everything probably kills me these days. Might as well die doing something useful." He finished his modifications and smiled at the result. The power generator now hummed with barely contained energy, ready to explode with the force of a small nuclear weapon. All he had to do was activate a switch made from a broken radio. The aliens would never understand how a radio switch could detonate a power generator. They would study the wreckage for years and learn nothing. Because humans didn't follow their rules about how technology was supposed to work. Jiho strapped the bomb to his back and started walking toward the next outpost, Behind him, automated cameras recorded his every move for analysts who grew more confused with each viewing. "Subject continues to demonstrate impossible capabilities," they would write in their reports. "Recommend immediate evacuation of northern territories." But evacuation was no longer an option. Human resistance was spreading across the globe like wildfire. Every day, more impossible weapons appeared. Every day, more alien technology was corrupted by human creativity. The emergency council meeting aboard the Velthron flagship had been called at the highest priority level. Admiral Kethvar stood before a holographic display showing 12 alien faces, each representing one of the species that made up the Velthron Empire. These beings had conquered hundreds of worlds together. They had never called an emergency meeting for a single planet until now. "Explain the situation on Earth," demanded High Counselor Zithara, her crystalline features reflecting the cold light of her homeworld. Kethvar gestured to the tactical display. "Human resistance has eliminated 47% of our ground forces. They are using our own technology against us in ways our scientists cannot explain or predict." "Impossible," growled Counselor Brexton, his massive form filling the communication screen. "No species can adapt so quickly to superior technology." "I have video evidence," Kethvar replied. The display shifted to show surveillance footage from across Earth. Human children turning alien scanners into weapons. Human engineers building impossible machines from broken parts. Human soldiers using tactics that violated every known principle of warfare. And through it all, one human appeared again and again. Jiho Kim, the lone warrior from the Arctic, had become something beyond their understanding. "Show them the soul footage," Dr. Velnera whispered from her position beside the Admiral. New images filled the display. The Resistance in Seoul had built a workshop underground where they mass-produced modified alien technology. Rows of impossible weapons lined the walls. Communication devices that shouldn't work buzzed with activity. Shield generators built from washing machines and alien crystals protected the facility from orbital bombardment. "How many humans are involved in these modifications?" asked Counselor Meliana. "All of them," Velnara replied. "Every human we capture knows how to change our technology. They teach each other through methods we cannot track or stop." The council fell silent. 12 species, each with different biologies and thought patterns, all staring at the same impossible truth. A primitive species was rewriting the laws of physics through sheer stubborn creativity. "What is the human casualty count?" asked High Counselor Zithara. "Unknown," Kethvar admitted. "Our weapons kill their bodies, but their ideas spread faster. Then we can eliminate them. For every human we destroy, 10 more learn their techniques." On Earth, those techniques were evolving beyond anything the aliens could imagine. In Seoul, Hyunwoo Nam stood in the main resistance chamber, watching his people work with equipment that hurt to look at. Reality seemed to bend around the modified alien technology. "Status report," he called out. Taehyun Kwan approached, carrying a rifle that combined 3 different incompatible technologies. "Weapon production is ahead of schedule. We're building faster than they can destroy us." "Communication networks?" "Fully operational," reported Yoonji Yoon from her corner workshop. The young girl had connected alien communication devices to the human internet, using methods that violated both species' understanding of how data transmission worked. "We're in contact with resistance cells on every continent. And our special project," Min Soo-jung emerged from behind a wall of sparking machinery. "Almost ready," Dr. Lim says the psychological warfare device should be operational within hours. Across the city, Dr. Yuna Lim put the finishing touches on her greatest creation. The device looked like a nightmare built from spare parts and alien technology. Wires snaked across its surface in patterns that hurt to follow. Lights blinked in sequences that made no logical sense. "Are you sure this will work?" asked Dr. Soyoung Choi. "No," Yuna replied honestly. "I have no idea how it works. I just know it does." The device was designed to broadcast human thought patterns on alien communication frequencies. Not words or data, but the actual chaos of human creativity. The randomness that let humans see possibilities where logic said none existed. "What will it do to them?" Soyoung asked. "Either nothing or it will break their minds," Yuna said. "Their neural networks are too organized to handle true chaos. This might overload their entire communication system." In the Arctic, Ji-ho Kim had completed his journey from maintenance worker to force of nature. He stood on a hill overlooking the largest Valthran facility in the Northern Territories, wearing armor that combined technologies from both species in ways that should have killed him. Instead, he felt more alive than ever. The facility below housed 300 alien soldiers and their command staff. It was protected by shields that could stop nuclear weapons and guarded by automated defenses that could track flies in a snowstorm. It was supposed to be impregnable. Ji-ho smiled and activated his equipment. His armor was powered by alien energy cells connected to human solar panels. His weapons fired alien energy through human-designed focusing lenses. His communication gear could hack Valthran networks using modified smartphone technology. None of it should work. All of it worked perfectly. "Time to go to work," he said, to himself, and started down the hill. The facility's automated defenses detected him immediately. Targeting computers locked onto his position and fired energy beams that could melt steel. But Ji-ho's shield generator, built from alien force field technology and a car battery, deflected every shot. He reached the perimeter fence and placed his hand on the alien metal. Energy flowed from his armor into the barrier, carrying computer viruses written in human code. The fence sparked, flickered, and died. "That's not possible," the facility commander said, watching from the control room. "Human computer code cannot interface with our systems, but possibility was a flexible concept when humans were involved." Ji-ho walked through the dead fence and approached the main building. Alien soldiers poured out to stop him, their weapons firing beams of pure energy. But Ji-ho moved like liquid chaos, impossible to predict or target. His return fire came from directions that physics said he couldn't be in. One by one, the defenders fell. Aboard the command ship, the Council watched in horrified fascination as surveillance cameras tracked Ji-ho's assault. A single human was destroying a facility that should have stopped an army. "He's not following any tactical doctrine," observed Counselor Brexton. "He has no doctrine," Velnara replied. "He creates new strategies moment by moment, adapting to circumstances faster than our computers can calculate responses. How is that possible? We don't know. Human brains operate on principles we don't understand. They can believe contradictory things simultaneously. They can see solutions where logic says none exist. They treat impossibility as a suggestion rather than a law." On the screen, Ji-ho Kim entered the facility's main structure. His weapons cut through alien materials like they were paper. His movements defied prediction algorithms that could track entire fleets. He was chaos given human form. "Sir," the facility commander reported over the communication system. "The human has reached the power core. He's doing something to it, but our scanners can't determine what." "Can you stop him?" "We're trying, sir, but our weapons can't lock." "Onto him. He moves like he knows where we're going to shoot before we do." Because he did. Humans called it intuition, but it was something deeper. It was the ability to process impossibly complex information through patterns that existed below conscious thought. It was evolution's gift to a species that survived by adapting faster than their enemies could respond. Jiho finished his work on the power core and stepped back to admire his creation. He had turned the facility's own energy source into a beacon that would broadcast human creativity across the entire alien communication network. Every ship, every base, every alien mind connected to their systems would receive a direct transmission of pure human chaos. "This is going to be interesting," he said, and activated the device. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Across the globe, Valthron communication systems sparked and overloaded as human thought patterns flooded their networks. Alien minds, trained for perfect logic and efficiency, tried to process the impossible creativity and failed. On the flagship, Admiral Kethvar watched his communication officers collapse at their stations, their gray skin darkening as their minds overloaded. Throughout the fleet, similar scenes played out as human chaos invaded their perfectly ordered systems. "Cut all communications," he ordered. "Emergency isolation protocols." But it was too late. The damage was spreading through their networks, faster than they could contain it. Human creativity was a virus that their logical minds couldn't resist or comprehend. "High Council," Kethvar said into his personal communicator, "I am requesting immediate reinforcements. The entire fleet, every ship in the Empire." "Denied," came the reply. "You cannot require the full Imperial fleet for one primitive planet. You don't understand," Kethvar said, watching his screens fill with reports of system failures and mental breakdowns. "We're not fighting a primitive species. We're fighting something that exists outside the normal laws of reality. They're not just adapting to our technology, they're teaching it to think like them." In Seoul, the Resistance felt the change immediately. Their modified alien equipment began working even better as the chaos broadcast spread through the enemy. Networks. Weapons became more powerful. Shields became stronger. Communication became clearer. Human creativity was infecting alien technology on a fundamental level. The sky above Earth turned white with ships. Not hundreds this time, but thousands. 10,000 Vielthron vessels blocked out the sun, their hulls gleaming like metal stars. Every species in the Empire had contributed to the largest military force in galactic history. But they had not come as conquerors. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the planet below through sensors that no longer worked properly. Human chaos had infected their technology so completely that even basic scanners showed impossible readings. According to his instruments, Earth was simultaneously a primitive world and an advanced civilization that defied physics. Both readings were correct. "Sir," his communication officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the High Council." The main screen flickered to life, showing the 12 species that ruled the Vielthran Empire. But something was wrong with their faces. Fear lived there now, ancient and bone-deep. "Admiral," High Counselor Zethara began, "you will implement Protocol 7 immediately." Kethvar felt his blood turn cold. Protocol 7 was extinction. the complete sterilization of a planet and everything on it. The Empire had used it only 3 times in 10,000 years against threats that could have destroyed the galaxy. "Counselor," he said carefully, "surely the situation is not so extreme. The humans are contained to one world. They have no interstellar travel capability." "Show him," Zithara commanded. Dr. Velnara activated a new display, and Kethvar's world collapsed. The screen showed ships launching from Earth's surface, not alien ships stolen and modified, but new vessels built from the ground up using principles that hurt to look at. Human engineering combined with alien technology in ways that created something entirely new, something impossible. "They're leaving their planet," Velnara said quietly. "Human creativity is spreading beyond Earth. If they reach other worlds, if they teach other species to think like them..." She didn't need to finish. Kethvar understood. The Valthran Empire existed because the galaxy followed rules. Physics worked the same way everywhere. Logic was universal. Order was absolute. Humans treated all of those as suggestions. "How many ships?" he asked. 47 have launched so far," Velnara replied. "And Admiral, they're not following normal space-time physics. They're moving faster than they should be able to move, in directions that don't exist." On Earth's surface, Jiho Kim stood in what had once been the largest Velthran research facility in the Northern Territories. Now it was something else entirely. Human engineers and alien survivors worked side by side, building machines that combined both species' knowledge in ways that created entirely new possibilities. "Status report," he said to Minsu Jung, who had emerged as the lead engineer for the Liberation Project. "All launch systems are operational," Minsu replied, gesturing to the massive construction bay where another impossible ship was taking shape. "Dr. Lim's psychological interface systems are working better than expected. The alien volunteers are adapting to human thought patterns." Jiho nodded. It had been the greatest surprise of the war. When human chaos infected alien communication, networks, some Velthran minds, had not broken. Instead, they had learned. They had discovered what it felt like to think in possibilities instead of certainties. They had become addicted to being human. "How many aliens have requested asylum?" Jiho asked. 347 so far," replied Dr. Yuna Lim, approaching from her workshop. "They're calling themselves the Chaos Touched. They want to learn how to think like us permanently. In Seoul, the resistance had evolved into something that no longer needed to resist. The city was free, liberated not by force, but by conversion. Alien technology had learned to prefer human operators. Valthran soldiers had learned to prefer human creativity over rigid orders. Hyun-woo Nam stood in the government building that now served as the Human Command Center, speaking with representatives from resistance cells around the world. The war was ending, but not the way anyone had expected. "Status from North America?" he asked. "Free and operational," came the reply from New York. "The aliens here have mostly joined our engineering teams. We're building ships faster than we can crew them." "Europe?" "Same story. London reports successful launch of their first Chaos Drive vessel yesterday. It reached Mars in 4 hours. "That's impossible," observed Tae-hyun Kwan. "Everything we do is impossible," laughed young Yoon Ji-yoon from her control station. At 16, she had become Earth's chief alien technology specialist, despite having no formal training in physics. That's what makes it work. Her latest creation hummed in the corner of the room. It looked like a child's toy built from starship parts and household appliances. According to every known law of science, it should explode. Instead, it generated enough power to run the entire city while somehow making the air taste like spring mornings. Aboard the Velthran flagship, the debate raged between Admiral Kethvar and the High Council. Protocol 7 meant the death of billions of humans and the complete destruction of Earth, but it also meant survival for the rest of the galaxy. The contamination must be stopped, insisted Councillor Brexiton. If human thinking spreads to other worlds, it will unravel the fabric of reality itself. Sir, interrupted Dr. Velnara, I'm receiving new data from our deep space sensors. The display shifted to show the edge of the solar system. Human ships were already there, moving in formations that defied geometry. As they watched, one vessel simply disappeared from normal space, then reappeared near Jupiter using a form of faster-than-light travel that their best scientists said was impossible. They're not just leaving Earth, Velnara said in a voice, barely above a whisper. They're teaching space itself to think like humans. Activate Protocol 7, ordered High Counselor Zith-Ara. Immediately. But before Kethvar could comply, something impossible happened. Every screen in the fleet activated simultaneously, showing the same image. A human male standing in what appeared to be empty space, surrounded by impossible machinery that hummed, with power that shouldn't exist. It was Jiho Kim, people of the Valthran Empire, he said, speaking in perfect Valthran despite having never learned the language. My name is Jiho Kim. I represent the species you tried to conquer. We need to talk. The transmission shouldn't have been possible. Human technology couldn't penetrate Velthran communication shields, but possibility was flexible when humans were involved. You're afraid of us, Jiho continued, his voice carrying to every ship in the fleet. You should be. Not because we want to hurt you, but because we want to help you. He gestured to the machinery around him, devices that combined human and alien technology in ways that made reality dance. Your empire is built on the idea that the universe follows rules, that physics is absolute, that logic is universal. But you're wrong. The universe is much stranger and more wonderful than you imagine. We're here to show you how. Cut the transmission, ordered Kethvar. We can't, sir, his communication officer replied. He's not using our systems. He's speaking directly to our minds. On the screen, Jiho smiled. We've learned to communicate through impossibility itself. Every ship in your fleet, every alien mind connected to your networks can hear me right now. Not through technology, but through pure human creativity made manifest. In the council chamber, High Counselor Zithara felt something she had never experienced before. Wonder. The human's words were creating new thoughts in her mind, possibilities she had never considered. What do you want? She asked, her voice carrying across space through methods she didn't understand. To share, Jiho replied simply. For 10,000 years, your empire has conquered worlds by imposing order. We're offering something different. The chance to create instead of control. To explore possibilities instead of enforcing certainties. You're offering chaos, Counselor Brexton growled. We're offering choice, Jiho corrected. The choice to think in new ways. To see the universe as a place of infinite possibility rather than rigid law. Around him, the machinery pulsed with light that existed in colors the aliens had no names. 4. Human engineering had learned to bend not just technology, but reality itself. Join us, Jiho said. Not as subjects or conquerors, but as partners in the greatest adventure the galaxy has ever seen. We'll teach you to think like humans, and you can teach us to think like yourselves. Together, we can create things that neither species could imagine alone. And if we refuse? Asked High Counselor Zithara. Jiho's smile never wavered. Then you can go home. We won't stop you. We won't follow you. We'll respect your choice to remain as you are. But? Zithara sensed there was more. But you'll always wonder, Jiho said softly. Every time you look at the stars, you'll wonder what we're building out there. What impossible things we're creating. What new forms of beauty and strangeness we're bringing into existence. The transmission ended, leaving the Valtran fleet hanging in space above a world that had fundamentally changed the rules of reality. For long moments, no one spoke. "Orders, sir?" the tactical officer asked finally. Admiral Kethvar looked at the tactical display showing Earth below. Human ships moved through space like schools of fish made of light. Impossible cities were growing. On the moon, Mars was beginning to bloom with life that shouldn't be able to survive there.